Hello, welcome to my channel, Nightlight Science Stories. Today, we are digging into the most critical technology on Earth, food. For 10,000 years, we have fought a war against nature to feed ourselves. We plowed, we sprayed, and we conquered. But the war is killing the soil. We face a terrifying deadline, feeding 9 billion people on a dying planet by 2050. The solution isn't just in the future. It is buried deep in our past. Imagine a farm where there are no tractors, only silent robots moving like insects. Imagine satellites communicating with soil bacteria. This isn't science fiction. It is the radical convergence of artificial intelligence and ancient wisdom. We are using deep learning to decode the lost secrets of the Amazonians and the Mayans. It is a story of survival, returning to the earth not with a heavy plow, but with a microchip. To understand the future, we must look at the agricultural revolution. Historians call it humanity's biggest fraud. Before farming, we were hunter-gatherers, healthy and free. Then, we domesticated wheat. Or did wheat domesticate us? We became slaves to the crop, breaking our backs to clear land. We built civilization, yes, but we also built a trap. A system that requires constant expansion, constant labor, and constant destruction. We treated the soil like a factory floor, an inert medium to hold roots. We forgot that soil is alive. Today, we are paying the price. We have lost a third of the world's arable land to erosion and pollution in just 40 years. If we continue with industrial farming, we have about 60 harvests left before the soil turns to dust. The clock is ticking. We need a new revolution, one that doesn't fight nature. The heck's it. The 20th century gave us the Green Revolution. We discovered how to turn fossil fuels into food. Synthetic fertilizers are essentially solidified natural gas. When you eat bread today, you are eating oil. It worked for a while. The population exploded. But these chemicals are like steroids for the earth. They give a quick boost, but eventually, the organs fail. The soil microbiome is dying, addicted to chemical inputs just to function. This chemical addiction has created monocultures, vast oceans of a single crop. Nature hates monocultures. They are fragile. A single fungus or bug can wipe out the entire food supply of a nation. We have built a food system that is efficient, but incredibly brittle. We traded resilience for calories. Now, as the climate changes and pests evolve, our industrial fortress is showing cracks. We are vulnerable to a collapse. Most of us live under the illusion of abundance. We walk into a supermarket and see endless rows of food. But the modern city has only 3 days of food in stock. If the trucks stop, the shelves are empty in 72 hours. We saw this fragility during the pandemic. The supply chain is a thin thread in holding civilization together over a pit of chaos. We are farming blindly, hoping the weather holds and the trucks keep moving. But what if the farm could think? What if we replace the brute force of chemistry with the precision of intelligence? This is where AI enters the chat. We are moving from macro farming, treating whole fields the same, to micro farming. The AI doesn't see a field of corn. It sees 1 million individual plants. It knows the health, water needs, and genetic potential of every single stalk. This shift is profound. Instead of spraying an entire field with poison to kill a few weeds, a robot uses computer vision to identify the weed and zap it with a laser. No chemicals, no collateral damage. It is surgery versus carpet bombing. We are teaching machines to be the ultimate gardeners. They work 24/7s, never get tired, and learn from every leaf they scan. The farm becomes a data center without a roof. But technology alone is cold. It lacks the soul of the ecosystem. This is where the ancient wisdom comes in. Indigenous cultures farmed for thousands of years without destroying their land. They knew secrets we dismissed as superstition. They understood companion planting, that corn, beans, and squash help each other grow. AI is now proving them right. The algorithms are rediscovering the old ways. The biggest rediscovery is the terra preta of the Amazon. Thousands of years ago, indigenous people created a super soil using charcoal and bone. It is still fertile today. They didn't just use the soil, they engineered it. Modern science is scrambling to replicate this. We are realizing that the ancients were the first biohackers. They worked with the microbiome, encouraging beneficial fungi to trade nutrients with roots. We are now using AI to sequence the DNA of the soil. We are mapping the wood wide web beneath the farm. By understanding which bacteria help plants grow, we can create probiotic fertilizers. Instead of dumping nitrogen, we add microbes that pull nitrogen from the air. It is a return to biology, guided by digital maps. We are finally learning to speak the language of the underground again. This leads us to permaculture and regenerative agriculture. The farm of the future won't look like neat rows. It will look like a chaotic forest. Trees, bushes, and vegetables growing together in 3D layers. To a human eye, it looks messy and hard to harvest. But to a swarm of small robots, it is navigable. Machines allow us to return to the complexity of nature without losing efficiency. The combine harvester is a dinosaur. It requires flat, empty land. But a swarm of small spider-like robots can crawl over rocks and between trees. They can harvest a tomato without disturbing the lettuce next to it. This means we can rewild the farm. We can bring back the birds and the insects. The technology allows us to stop fighting the ecosystem and start participating in it as a keystone species. The stakes are highest in the places that are already dying. The desertification of Africa and Asia is pushing millions into starvation. But here too, AI and ancient tech are meeting. We are seeing projects that use AI to predict microclimates. Combined with ancient water harvesting techniques like ZI pits used in Burkina Faso, we are using satellites to find lost underground rivers. We are learning to farm sunlight and water as much as we farm crops. Agrivoltaics, putting solar panels over crop shades the plants, reducing water evaporation while generating power for the robots. It is a symbiotic system. The future farm produces energy and food simultaneously. It is a closed loop, just like the ancient oasis systems, but turbocharged with silicon efficiency. And then, there is the farm that leaves the soil entirely. Vertical farming. If the weather is too chaotic outside, we bring the nature inside. In downtown Tokyo or New York, lettuce is growing in stacked trays, bathed in purple LED light. AI controls every variable: temperature, humidity, CO2. It is farming without seasons. It uses 95% less water and 0 pesticides. It is the ultimate decoupling from nature. While some see this as dystopian, others see it as salvation. By growing food in skyscrapers, we can give the farmland back to the forests. We can stop the deforestation. It is the concept of land sparing. Use technology to intensify food production in small areas and leave the rest of the planet to heal. It is a controversial but powerful idea, separating food from the wild to save the wild. As we stand on the edge of this new era, we have tools that would look like magic to our ancestors. CRISPR, gene editing, allows us to tweak the DNA of crops to survive droughts or salty water. We are speeding up evolution. But with great power comes the risk of great mistakes. Are we wise enough to rewrite the code of life? Or are we just creating new problems for the future? In the next part, we will dive deep into the machines themselves. We will look at the swarm robotics, the army of tiny machines that will replace the tractor. And we will explore the controversial world of lab-grown meat. Can we eat steak without killing a cow? The future of protein is brewing in a vat. Stay with us as we enter the laboratory of the future. The age of the mega tractor is ending. These monsters crush the soil, compacting it until it is as hard as concrete. Roots cannot breathe in concrete. Nature doesn't build heavy machines. It builds swarms. We are finally copying the ant and the bee. Small, lightweight, and numerous. This is swarm robotics. Instead of one machine costing $500,000, imagine 5,000 machines costing $100 each. If one breaks, the swarm continues. This decentralization is key. A single tractor failure can stop a harvest. A swarm is unkillable. They communicate with each other like a flock of birds, sharing maps of the field in real time. I found a weed here, one signals. I need help harvesting this row, says another. It is a collective intelligence moving across the land, touching the earth lightly. They don't compact the soil. They tiptoe over it, preserving the delicate structure below. The primary weapon of the swarm is light, not chemistry. For decades, we carpet bombed fields with herbicides like glyphosate. It killed the weeds, but it also poisoned the water and created super weeds that are immune to poison. Enter the laser weeder. Computer vision identifies the weed instantly. A microburst of thermal energy vaporizes itself. The crop next to it is untouched. It is a sniper shot in a war that used to be fought with nukes. This means we can say goodbye to the chemical runoff that creates dead zones in our oceans. We can farm organically at an industrial scale. The robot doesn't care if it has to zap 10 weeds or 10 million. It never gets tired. It creates a data point for every kill. We are learning exactly where and when weeds grow, allowing the AI to predict future outbreaks. We are turning the chaos of biology into a manageable, predictable data set. But the swarm isn't just for killing weeds. It is for saving life. We are facing an insect apocalypse. Bee populations are collapsing due to pesticides and habitat loss. Without bees, we lose a third of our food supply. Almonds, apples, cherries, they all disappear. Desperate engineers are building robo-bees, tiny drones capable of artificial pollination. It is a dystopian solution, yes, but it might be a necessary lifeboat. These micro-drones use sensors to find flowers ready for pollen. They are gentle, precise, and immune to disease. While we must fight to save the biological bees, having a backup plan is just good survival strategy. Ideally, the robots and the real bees work together. The robots handle the dangerous or monotonous tasks, allowing the biological ecosystem to recover in the background. It is a hybrid workforce of carbon and silicon. Now let's look at the hardest truth. Farming animals is inefficient. To get 1 calorie of beef, you need to feed a cow 25 calories of grain. It is a thermodynamic disaster. We use 77% of our agricultural land for livestock, yet it provides only 18% of our calorie. We are literally eating the planet. But people love meat. They won't stop eating it. The solution is to separate the meat from the animal. Welcome to cellular agriculture. This is not the plant-based burger, you know. This is real meat, grown from real animal cells, but without the animal. We take a biopsy from a cow, a painless pinprick, and place the cells in a bioreactor. It is like a brewery, but instead of fermenting beer, we are fermenting muscle tissue. The cells are fed nutrients and they multiply. In a few weeks, you have a steak. No slaughterhouse, no suffering, no methane. The environmental math is staggering. Lab-grown meat uses 99% less land and 96% less water than traditional livestock. Imagine rewilding the Amazon rainforest because we no longer need grazing land for cattle. We could turn the entire Midwest back into a bison prairie. It is the greatest ecological opportunity of our time. We can have our steak and save the planet too. It sounds like magic, but it is just biology at scale. The yuck factor is the biggest hurdle. People think it is unnatural. They call it Frankenmeat. But ask yourself, is a factory farm natural? Is pumping cows full of antibiotics and crowding them into fecal dust natural? The lab is sterile, controlled, and safe. There is no risk of E. coli or salmonella. In 50 years, our grandchildren might look back at slaughtering animals with the same horror we feel towards ancient sacrifices. It goes beyond meat. We are reinventing milk, cheese, and eggs through precision fermentation. We program yeast, the same microbe that makes bread rise to spit out milk proteins like casein and whey. We are brewing milk like beer. This animal-free dairy has the exact same molecular structure as cow's milk. It stretches like mozzarella and melts like cheddar, but no cow was ever involved. This disrupts a 10,000-year-old industry. The dairy farmer becomes a fermentation engineer. The cow, which is a major source of methane gas, retires. This technology is already on supermarket shelves. You might have eaten it without knowing. It is the silent revolution of the food system. We are decoupling nutrition from the animal kingdom. We are moving from hunting and gathering to designing and brewing. The texture is the final frontier. Brown beef is easy. A T-bone steak is hard. Muscle has structure, blood vessels, and fat marbling. To recreate this, we are using 3D VO printing. We print the scaffold of the meat layer by layer. Fat, muscle, connective tissue. The printer lays down the cells like ink. It allows us to design the perfect steak, maybe one with healthy omega-3 fats instead of cholesterol. We could even print meats that don't exist in nature. What does a dodo bird taste like? Or a mammoth? If we have the DNA sequence, we can grow the cells. We could eat ethical, exotic meats without harming a single creature. The culinary possibilities are endless. We are moving from a world of scarcity, where we eat what we can catch, to a world of creativity, where we eat what we can imagine. But will it be affordable? Currently, a lab-grown burger costs significantly more than a traditional one. This is Wright's law. The cost drops as production scales up. Solar panels were once a luxury. Now they are the cheapest energy. The same will happen with food. Once the bioreactors reach the size of oil refineries, the cost of cultured meat will crash below the cost of slaughtered meat. Economics will drive the shift. When the cheaper option is also the ethical option, the world changes fast. Fast food chains will switch first, then schools, then high-end restaurants. It will be a quiet transition. One day, you will realize you haven't eaten a slaughtered animal in a year. The meat paradox, loving animals but eating them, will finally be resolved. We will look at our pets and our dinner plates without cognitive dissonance. We must also look to the oceans, not to fish them empty, but to farm them. Algae is the fastest growing plant on Earth. It doubles its mass every few hours. It captures carbon and creates protein. We can grow it in the desert and saltwater ponds. It doesn't compete with farmland. Algae could be the ultimate super crop, feeding both humans and the new bioreactors. It is the green gold of the future. We are just scratching the surface of blue food. Secret forests can sequester gigatons of carbon while deacidifying the ocean. It is regenerative farming at sea. If we shift our protein source from cows to a mix of lab meat and ocean crops, we can heal the biosphere. The ocean is not just a victim of climate change. It is a massive part of the solution waiting to be unlocked. We have replaced the tractor with the swarm and the cow with the bioreactor. But there is one more tool in the box, and it is the most controversial of all: changing the blueprint of life itself. CRISPR-Cas9. We now have the ability to cut and paste genes as easily as editing a Word document. We can make crops that create their own fertilizer, or rice that survives underwater. But playing God has consequences. If a genetically edited gene escapes into the wild, it could alter the ecosystem forever. We are holding the scissors of creation, but do we have the wisdom to use them? In the next part, we explore the genetic revolution. We will look at golden rice, super trees that suck up carbon, and the ethical minefield of patenting life. The code of nature is open for editing. For billions of years, evolution was a slow, blind game of chance. Nature threw the dice, and we waited millions of years for a better crop. Today, we have stopped waiting. We have discovered the source code of biology. CRISPR is a molecular scalpel that allows us to find a specific gene inside a plant and delete or replace it. It is not just breeding, it is editing. We are no longer the farmers. We are the programmers of the harvest. This power is terrifying and beautiful. We can turn off the gene that makes a mushroom turn brown. We can turn on a gene that makes a tomato produce more antioxidants. We are moving from natural selection to intelligent selection. But unlike the slow drift of continents, this change happens overnight in a petri dish. We are compressing eons of evolutionary trial and error into a single Tuesday afternoon in a lab. Consider golden rice. Millions of children in developing nations go blind or die due to vitamin A deficiency. Rice doesn't naturally produce vitamin A, so scientists took a gene from a daffodil and spliced it into the rice genome. The result is a grain that produces beta-carotene. It is a piece of technology designed to save eyesight. It is biofortification, using the plant itself as a medicine factory. Yet, it sat in a lab for 20 years, blocked by protests and regulations. This highlights the war between precaution and progress. Opponents fear that messing with nature has unforeseen consequences. Proponents argue that letting children die when we have the cure is the greater sin. The golden rice saga proves that the science is often the easy part. The politics of playing God is the hard part. Climate change is the enemy. Rising sea levels are turning fertile deltas into salt marshes. Heat waves are scorching the wheat belt. We need warrior crops. Scientists are identifying genes in desert grasses that allow them to survive extreme heat and salt. By copying these genes into our fragile wheat and corn, we are giving them armor. We are designing plants that can drink salt water and survive a drought that would kill a cactus. This is climate-proofing our food supply. If we don't do this, we face famine. The weather of the future will be hostile to the crops of the past. We are entering an era where the environment is unpredictable, so the genetics must be adaptable. We are building the Navy SEALs of the plant kingdom, capable of operating in the most hostile environments on Earth. It is adaptation at the speed of code. It's not just about food, it's about the air. We are engineering super trees. The American chestnut was once the king of the forest until a fungus wiped it out. Geneticists are bringing it back, immune to the blight, but they are going further. They are designing poplars and pines that grow 20% faster and capture twice as much carbon dioxide. These trees are living machines designed to suck the poison out of our atmosphere. Imagine a forest that acts as a carbon vacuum. We could plant millions of these genetically enhanced guardians to reverse climate change. But is a forest still a forest if the trees are patented technology? Are we creating a Disney nature, a perfect, curated, artificial wilderness? We might save the planet's climate, but in the process, we might turn the wild into a garden we control completely. The holy grail of biotech is nitrogen fixation. Legumes like beans can pull nitrogen from the air to feed themselves. Corn and wheat cannot. They need synthetic fertilizer. If we can teach corn to talk to nitrogen-fixing bacteria, we end the need for chemical fertilizers. This would stop the pollution of our rivers and oceans instantly. It is the single biggest environmental win possible in agriculture. Scientists are editing the conversation between roots and microbes. They are trying to upload the legume software into the corn hardware. If it works, it breaks the dependency on the oil industry for fertilizer. It creates a self-sustaining crop. It is the ultimate goal of the silicon harvest biology that supports itself without chemical crutches. A return to the closed loop of nature engineered by man. But who owns the code? This is where the story gets dark. In the old days, a farmer saved seeds from the best plants to plant next year. It was a cycle of independence. Today, the seeds are patented intellectual property owned by megacorporations. If you save them, you are a thief. You must buy new seeds every year. The farmer is no longer a steward of the land. He is a licensee of the technology. This centralization of power is dangerous. 3 or 4 companies control the genetic heritage of the planet's food. If they make a mistake, or if they prioritize profit over resilience, we all starve. We have privatized the foundation of human survival. The open source seeds movement is fighting back, trying to keep genetics free for everyone. It is a battle between the commons and the corporation. The ultimate weapon in this corporate war is GERT genetic use restriction technology, nicknamed Terminator seeds. These are plants genetically programmed to produce sterile seeds. They grow once, provide food, but their children are dead. It forces the farmer to return to the corporation every season. It breaks the 10,000-year-old cycle of life. Although currently banned due to public outcry, the technology exists in the vault. The fear is that this sterility could spread. What if pollen from a Terminator crop blows into a wild forest or a neighbor's organic farm? Could it sterilize the natural world? It is a biological firewall that could become a wildfire. It represents the ultimate hubris, designing death into the very symbol of life just to protect a profit margin. It is the dark shadow of the silicon harvest. Nature does not respect fences. Pollen travels on the wind for miles. Genetic drift is inevitable. We have found GMO genes in wild corn in Mexico, the birthplace of maize. Once the genie is out of the bottle, you cannot put it back. We are effectively conducting an uncontrolled experiment on the entire biosphere. We are introducing code updates to nature without a backup server to restore if it crashes. This contamination worries organic farmers and ecologists. If a superweed gains resistance to herbicides through cross-pollination, we have created a monster we cannot kill. We are engaged in an evolutionary arms race with nature. Every time we hack the system, nature hacks back. The weeds get stronger, the bugs get tougher. It is the Red Queen effect, running faster and faster just to stay in the same place. So how do we balance the risk? There are two schools of thought. Land sharing means farming gently, mixing wildlife and crops, but getting lower yields. Land sparing means farming intensively with high-tech GMOs on small plots, leaving the rest of the world as a nature reserve. The irony is, the high-tech approach might actually save more rainforests by reducing the land we need for food. It is a difficult ethical calculus. Do we embrace the frankenfood to save the tiger habitat? Or do we reject the tech and risk plowing up the last wilderness to feed the growing population? There are no easy answers, only trade-offs. The silicon harvest offers us efficiency, but it demands we trust the technology. And trust is a scarce resource in the modern world. While we argue about genetics, we are ignoring the dumbest problem of all. We produce enough food for 10 billion people right now, but we throw away 40% of it. It rots in fields, in trucks, and in your fridge. Food waste is a crime against the planet. We destroy forests to grow food that no one eats. The most sustainable crop is the one we don't waste. The tech isn't just about growing more. It's about wasting less. In the next part, we will look at the logistics of the future, how AI is fixing the broken supply chain. We will look at smart packaging that tells you when food is actually bad, not just a printed date, and the rise of the circular economy where waste becomes energy. The harvest is only the beginning. Getting it to the plate is the real challenge. We grow enough calories to feed the world 1.5 times over. Yet, 800 million people go to bed hungry. This is not a production problem, it is a logistics failure. The journey from the farm to the fork is the valley of death for food. It rots in hot trucks, gets crushed in warehouses, or expires on shelves. We are trying to fill a leaking bucket by pouring more water in, instead of fixing the leak. The silicon harvest isn't just about growing. It is about moving. We are building a digital twin of the entire food supply chain. Every crate of bananas will have a digital passport. Sensors track temperature, humidity, and shock in real time. If a Trucks fails in Arizona, the AI instantly reroutes it to a closer market before the fruit spoils. It is the Internet of tomatoes. Trust is the currency of the future. Blockchain technology allows us to trace a coffee bean from a specific tree in Ethiopia to your cup in New York. You scan a QR code, and you see the farmer's face, the harvest date, and the carbon footprint. This radical transparency kills the gray market. You know if your chocolate was made with child labor, or if your organic spinach was actually sprayed. This accountability changes everything. When an E. coli outbreak happens today, we throw away millions of tons of lettuce because we don't know which farm is infected. With blockchain, we can surgically recall only the affected batch. We save the food, we save the money, and we save lives. It turns the supply chain from a foggy guessing game into a crystal clear stream of data. The best before date is a lie. It is a guess made by a manufacturer to protect them from lawsuits. It causes us to throw away perfectly good milk and yogurt. Enter smart packaging. Imagine a label that senses the chemical signature of spoilage. It changes color only when the food is actually unsafe. It communicates with your phone. Eat the chicken tonight. It will turn bad tomorrow. This technology extends the shelf life of the world's pantry. We are also developing edible packaging Imagine a water bottle made of algae that you can eat after drinking, or a protective coating on an avocado made of plant peel that washes off. We are eliminating the mountains of plastic trash that wrap our food. The packaging becomes part of the biological cycle, returning to the earth as compost, not poison. But what about the unavoidable waste? The potato peels, the spoiled grain? In a linear economy, this goes to a landfill and creates methane. In a circular economy, it becomes gold. Enter the black soldier fly. These insects are nature's ultimate recyclers. We are building massive insect factories where larvae devour tons of food waste in hours, converting trash into high-quality protein and oil. These larvae are then fed to chickens and fish, replacing the need for soy or wild-caught fish meal. We are closing the loop. The waste from the city feeds the farm. It is alchemy. We are turning rotting garbage into fresh eggs and salmon. The insect factory is the missing link in the global food web, turning the end of the line back into the beginning. The revolution reaches your kitchen. The smart fridge of the future is not just a cold box. It is an inventory manager. It uses cameras to scan what you have. It suggests recipes based on what is about to expire. You have 3 carrots and a heavy cream expiring. Make a soup. It connects to the grocery store, auto-ordering only what you need, reducing the impulse buys that end up in the trash. This shifts the consumer mindset from passive eater to active manager. We stop being mindless consumers. We start treating food as a valuable asset. The AI helps us budget our calories and our wallet. It might even gamify waste reduction, rewarding you for emptying your fridge before buying more. We are outsourcing our willpower to the algorithm, and the planet benefits. The ultimate solution to logistics is to destroy the distance. Hyperlocalization. Why ship lettuce 3,000 miles when you can grow it on the roof of the supermarket? We are seeing the rise of agri-hoods, suburbs built around a community farm instead of a golf course. The food travels 0 miles, is harvested an hour before you eat it. The nutrition density is at its peak. This decentralization makes cities resilient. If the global supply chain collapses, the city can still feed itself. We are turning concrete jungles into green sponges. Mushrooms growing in coffee shop waste, basements turned into fish farms, aquaponics. The city is no longer a parasite on the countryside. It becomes a producer. We are blurring the line between urban and rural. The circular economy also applies to the energy of cooking. We are seeing solar ovens and biogas digesters in developing nations. You put your food scraps into a tank. Bacteria break it down and produce methane gas, which you use to cook your next meal. It is free energy from waste. It stops the deforestation for charcoal. It is a perfect, elegant circle of life, powered by biology. This ancient wisdom of waste equals food is the core of the new system. In nature, there is no such thing as trash. One creature's poop is another creature's lunch. We are finally designing our economy to mimic a forest. The Silicon Harvest is not about conquering nature with machines. It is about using machines to weave ourselves back into the web of life we tried to escape. The last mile is the most expensive part of delivery. Drones and autonomous sidewalk robots are solving this. They are electric, quiet, and efficient. But the real shift is food as a service. Instead of buying groceries, you subscribe to a diet. The AI calculates exactly 2,500 calories of balanced nutrition for you and delivers it daily. No shopping, no cooking, no waste. It sounds convenient, but it is also a surrender of culture. Cooking is a human ritual. It is love. If we turn food into a utility like electricity, do we lose our humanity? Do we become battery hens fed by a robot? There's a tension between the efficiency of the silicon harvest and the joy of the slow food movement. We must find a balance between the algorithm and the grandmother's recipe. The future of food is not a pill. It is not a gray sludge. It will be more diverse than today. We will eat ancient grains like millet and sorghum, rediscovered by AI for their drought resistance. We will eat 3D printed shapes that hold sauce perfectly. We will eat fruits that haven't existed for centuries, resurrected from DNA banks. The plate of 2050 will be a riot of color and new flavors. We are moving from the age of standardization, where every banana looks the same, to the age of customization. Your food will be tailored to your DNA. If you are prone to diabetes, your 3D printer will adjust the glycemic index of your pasta. Personalized nutrition is the final frontier. Food becomes preventative medicine, prescribed by an eye doctor and cooked by a robot chef. We have fixed the soil, the seed, and the supply chain. But what about the human? What happens to the billions of people who work in agriculture? If the robots do the harvesting, do the farmers become obsolete? Or do they become the stewards of the land, paid not for the corn they grow, but for the carbon they capture and the birds they protect? In the next part, we tackle the social harvest. We ask the hard questions about jobs, rural poverty, and corporate monopolies. Will this technology liberate the farmer from backbreaking labor, or will it turn them into serfs on a digital plantation? The technology is ready, but is society? We enter the human heart of the food system. We have spoken of robots, genes, and algorithms, but agriculture is, at its heart, a human story. For 10,000 years, the majority of humanity worked in the fields. Today, in developed nations, it is less than 2%. The silicon harvest threatens to push that number to zero. The autonomous farm is a dream for efficiency, but a nightmare for employment. If the robots do all the work, what happens to the rural communities that depend on these jobs? History is full of warning signs. When the tractor arrived, millions of farmhands lost their jobs and migrated to city slums. AI threatens to do the same, but faster. We face a crossroads. Will technology liberate the farmer from backbreaking drudgery, allowing them to become managers and stewards? Or will it turn them into obsolete relics, forcing them off the land their families have tended for generations? The machine doesn't care. Society must. The definition of a farmer is mutating. The farmer of 2050 will not be a laborer with a hoe. They will be a data scientist with muddy boots. They will need to understand agronomy, coding, and robotics. This creates a dangerous skills gap. The older generation, who holds the wisdom of the land, often struggles with the interface. The younger generation understands the interface but has lost the wisdom of the land. We need a bridge between these worlds. We are seeing the rise of agri-tech universities where coding is taught alongside biology. But this transition risks leaving the poorest behind. If you cannot afford the robot, or if you cannot read the data, you cannot compete. We risk creating a two-tier system: the high-tech, profitable corporate mega-farms and the struggling, low-tech peasant farms destined to vanish. Data is the new cash crop. Every time a smart tractor drives over a field, it gathers valuable information about soil moisture, yield, and pests. Who owns this data? Currently, the tractor companies do. They aggregate it and sell it back to the farmers or to Wall Street traders speculating on food prices. The farmer is generating the value, but the corporation is harvesting the profit. This is data feudalism. Farmers are becoming serfs on their own land, renting the software required to run their hardware. The right to repair movement is a rebellion against this. Farmers are hacking their own tractors just to fix them without paying the dealer. It is a fight for autonomy. If you don't own the code that runs your farm, you don't really own the farm. You are just a tenant in the digital cloud. However, in the global south, the story is different. Here, AI offers a chance to leapfrog. Just as Africa skipped landlines and went straight to mobile phones, African farmers might skip the disruptive industrial agriculture phase and go straight to smart farming. A simple app can tell a Kenyan farmer exactly when to plant to avoid a drought or identify a cassava disease from a photo. These low-cost tools democratize science. You don't need $1 million combine. You need a $100 smartphone. This knowledge transfer can lift millions out of poverty. It empowers the smallholder farmer, who produces 70% of the world's food, but remains the most vulnerable to hunger. By giving them the same data as the mega corporations, we level the playing field. Intelligence becomes the great equalizer. This leads to food sovereignty. Nations are realizing that relying on global supply chains is dangerous. War in one country causes starvation in another. Governments are now treating food tech as a matter of national security. They want their own vertical farms, their own seed banks, and their own AI models. They don't want to be blackmailed by hunger. We are moving from a globalized food system back to a regionalized one, but powered by global knowledge. The goal is autarky, self-sufficiency. A city that feeds itself is a city that cannot be besieged. The silicon harvest allows for high-density production anywhere, from the deserts of Dubai to the frozen tundras of Iceland. Geography is no longer destiny. Technology conquers climate. Perhaps the economic model itself must change. For centuries, we paid farmers only for the crop. We didn't pay them for the clean water they protected or the carbon they stored in the soil. Now, with satellite verification, we can monetize ecosystem services. A farmer can be paid not to plow. They can be paid to plant trees. Carbon farming becomes more profitable than corn farming. This turns the farmer into a climate guardian. The farm becomes a carbon sink. Corporations seeking to offset their emissions pay the farmer to heal the land. It aligns the financial incentive with the ecological imperative. Finally, doing the right thing for the planet becomes the profitable thing for the wallet. It is the end of the conflict between ecology and economy. The social disconnect is also healing. Community-supported agriculture, CSA 2.0, connects you directly to the farm. An app tells you, Farmer John is harvesting carrots today. You buy shares in the harvest, you visit the farm. The robot does the weeding, but the community does the gathering. We crave connection to the source of our life. We are tired of anonymous plastic-wrapped food. This relocalization brings meaning back to eating. When you know the soil, the food tastes different. It is psychological nutrition. The technology handles the logistics, but the humans handle the relationships. We are using the screen to get us off the screen and back into the dirt. It is a paradox. High-tech tools enabling a high-touch, old-school community experience. But we must address the cheap food illusion. We spend less of our income on food than any generation in history, but we pay for it in healthcare and environmental cleanup. Cheap burgers cause expensive heart disease. Cheap corn destroys the Gulf of Mexico. True cost accounting uses AI to calculate the real price. If a burger cost $15 to reflect its environmental damage, would you still eat it? The silicon harvest will likely make healthy food cheaper, but it might make destructive food expensive. Governments may tax food based on its carbon footprint. This is a radical shift. It forces the market to tell the truth. It ends the subsidy of destruction. We will finally pay what the food is actually worth, and in doing so, we will value it more. There is a melancholy in this progress. The pastoral idyll, the quiet, lonely farmer struggling against the elements, is a romantic image we are losing. The silence of the field is being replaced by the hum of drones. The mystery of the harvest is being replaced by the certainty of the spreadsheet. We are trading poetry for prose. Efficiency is brutal. It leaves no room for the accidental, the wild, or the slow. Yet, we cannot eat poetry. With 9 billion mouths to feed, efficiency is the only morality left. We must mourn the loss of the old ways while embracing the necessity of the new. The scarecrow is no longer a bundle of straw, it is a sensor node. It doesn't scare the crows, it counts them. The magic has drained away, replaced by a terrible, beautiful competence. As we near the end of our journey, we realize that the silicon harvest is not about machines replacing nature. It is about machines helping us understand nature's complexity for the first time. We are not imposing our will on the earth. We are finally listening to it, using a hearing aid made of silicon. The arrogant conquest is over. The humble partnership has begun. We are learning that the most advanced technology is not a microchip, it is a seed. All our satellites and servers are just support staff for the miracle of photosynthesis. We are simply the assistants to the real masters of the planet, the plants. They feed us, they breathe for us, and they will outlive us. Our job is just to make sure they and we survive the next century. The ultimate test of the silicon harvest is not on Earth. It is on Mars. If we are to become a multi-planetary species, we cannot rely on supply drops from Earth. We must farm on the red planet. This is the hardest agricultural challenge in physics. The soil is toxic perchlorates. The radiation is deadly. The water is frozen. If we can grow a potato on Mars, we can grow anything, anywhere on Earth. NASA and SpaceX are developing closed-loop systems for space. In a spaceship, there is no waste. Urine becomes water. CO2 becomes oxygen. Compost becomes food. It is the perfect circle. This technology, developed for the stars, is exactly what we need to save the Earth. By learning to survive in the void, we are learning how to live lightly on our own home planet. The spaceship is the ultimate model for the city. But we won't just build domes, we will terraform. We will use extremophiles, ancient bacteria and genetically modified lichens that eat rock and spit out soil. We will seed the dead worlds with life. This is the long game of agriculture. Not just planting seeds in soil, but planting life on dead planets to create soil. It is the transformation of the universe from dumb matter into living, breathing biology. This perspective changes how we see Earth. We realize that our planet is also a spaceship. It has limited resources and a fragile hull, the atmosphere. We are the crew, not the passengers. Managing the biosphere is not a political choice. It is an engineering necessity. The planetary garden concept suggests that there is no wild left. The entire Earth is a garden that requires stewardship. We are the gardeners. Some fear this managed earth. They want to leave nature alone, but we are too big to leave it alone. Our influence is everywhere. The choice is not between interference and nature. The choice is between bad management, destruction, and good management, regeneration. We must embrace our role as the keystone species. We must accept the responsibility of the Anthropocene. We broke it. We must fix it. The farm of the future helps us do this. By concentrating food production in high-tech vertical towers and efficient precision farms, we can release vast amounts of land back to nature. We can have a planet that is half technological utopia and half wild paradise. This is the eco-modernist manifesto. Decouple human well-being from environmental destruction. Technology is the tool that sets nature free. This brings us back to the ancient wisdom. The indigenous elders taught that the earth is a gift, and we must treat it with reciprocity. The AI teaches us that the earth is a complex system, and we must treat it with precision. These two truths are merging. The satellite confirms what the shaman knew. Everything is connected. The water, the soil, the air, the blood. We are finally building a civilization that honors this connection. The silicon harvest is not cold. It is deeply spiritual. It is the realization that a single seed is the most advanced technology in the universe, and our job is simply to help it grow. We are using our deepest science to protect our deepest roots. The binary code and the DNA code are singing the same song. It is a song of survival, adaptation, and life. We are moving into a post-scarcity world. For all of history, hunger was the default. Wars were fought over grain. If we succeed, hunger becomes a history lesson. A child born in 2050 might never know what it means to worry about food. They will look back at the early 21st century, the time of chemical poisons and starving billions, as the Dark Ages, before the Great Awakening of the food system. But this future is not guaranteed. We are in a race between innovation and collapse. The soil is eroding fast. The climate is turning against us. We have maybe 20 years to make this transition. The tools are in our hands. The blueprints are ready. The only variable left is human will. Do we cling to the dying systems of the past, or do we dare to plant the seeds of the future? Food is more than fuel. It is culture. It is family. It is the center of our lives. By fixing food, we fix health, we fix the climate, and we fix inequality. It is the master key. The silicon harvest is our attempt to build a table big enough for 10 billion people, where the food is good, the land is healed, and no one is turned away. It is the greatest project humanity has ever attempted. As we finish this documentary, look at your next meal. Really look at it. Think of the sun that powered it, the soil that held it, and the hands and perhaps the robots that harvested it. It is a miracle on a plate. The story of that meal is the story of our species. From the first campfire to the vertical farm, we are the animals that learn to feed the world. The journey from the cracked earth to the lush garden is a long one, but we are walking it. The night is dark, but the harvest is coming. We hope this story has planted a seed in your mind. The future is not written, it is grown, and we are all the sowers. Thank you for watching Nightlight Science Stories. If this vision of the future gave you hope, please like and subscribe. It helps us grow the channel like a well-tended garden. Join us next time as we explore the mysteries of the deep ocean. Until then, stay curious and keep watching the light. Good night.